I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, there is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living.
Only thing that you can do is win so big that all of them constantly compare themselves to you, and then you'll forget they exist. Success is the only revenge. He's like, it's not the best revenge. He's like, it's the only one. There's no other revenge, because everything else is petty. Everything else does show that you were thinking about these people all day long, which means they win by default. He's like, all you can do is think about your goal and winning. He's like, and when you win, that's when you become so big that they shrink into irrelevance. You cast a shadow that no one even can see them behind you.
I tell young men, it's like, find something difficult to do. You need that. You're not built for comfort or pleasure. Like, if that comes along, good. You know, if you have a day where you're comfortable and there's some things around you that give pleasure, have some sense and enjoy it. But don't be thinking that's what your life is aimed at. That's contemptible. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. And if they orient themselves in that hedonistic direction, there's nothing in it but shame.
I want to let people know that no matter what happens to you, you can get to your goal. I let people know.
I'm a strong believer in that.
I don't give a Frenchman's fuck. If this is what you want to do, you could do it. And I think that you're helping a lot of people.
I learned that from Cuz. Never give up.
Who gives a fuck?
If you lost your eye, you lost your legs, your arm, never give up. Just never give up.
You're going to have thoughts come to your mind of why you can't get it. You have the ability in your conscious mind to reject that idea, kick it out of your mind. Thinking of why you can't do something is never going to do you any good. And keep thinking until you start to think of thoughts of how you can do it. And the way will be shown to you. It comes in the form of images in our mind. Think of how you can and not why you can't.
The man who never fail, the man who never fell has no glory. The man who fell and got back up, that's where his glory is. The man who fell 20 times and got up 21 times, that man has even greater glory.
Wow.
That man has more courage, way more courage than the guy who was so strong from birth that he never failed. There's no glory in that.
It takes a long time. It takes a lot longer than you think or want. It's hard as fuck. You're gonna fucking lose a lot of friends. You're gonna lose contact with a lot of people that aren't aligned with you. You're gonna make new friends, okay? But if you keep going, you're gonna find out what it is that you were meant to do, and you're gonna fucking be on a different level than everybody else that you know. You are far more fucking capable than you think you are. Stop putting people on a fucking pedestal thinking that they're better than you. They're not better than you. They might be doing it longer than you. They might be able to fake that it's easy for them, okay? But it ain't. And I'm here to tell you, dude, and I say this from a place of humility, because I have a lot to learn, but I'm pretty fucking good at what I do, and it's still hard as fuck. It's still hard as fuck.
Everyone thinks you're crazy until it works. And so, I mean, if you think of the outcome as the trump card, then all of the pain and suffering that you lead up to that point, if you're just that no matter what, you will die or you will get there, then the likelihood that all of the things that you've done up to that point will then be justified in retrospect is super high. You always have to be the person who roots for you before everyone else does. And it's usually a single clap in the auditorium for a very long period of time. It is a slow clap that's just you rooting for you.
So if you're in the woods and you don't know where to go, start walking. You got to start walking because the perspective's not going to change. You have to start moving forward. You have to start taking steps in order to improve your vision, improve your perspective, change your perspective, make some kind of progress. And worst case scenario, you figure out that you walked the wrong direction. Okay, now you can go walk in the other direction. And that's going to be fine. But standing there lost and not doing anything is just waiting to die, waiting to starve to death. Don't let that happen.
I don't care who you are, how much money you have, what you have going on. When you get out of bed every day, life is standing right there to punch you in the mouth. And, you know, you have to overcome all these different struggles in life every day. Right. I actually love when adversity is thrown at me and I have to deal with this stuff. And it's one of my favorite things to do. So I'm a little sick and twisted, and I like the conflict every day. I like powering through the challenges that life throws at you every day. It's like one of my favorite things to do.
If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say to yourself, you got to mean this. Like, you got to be desperate. This is no game, this. My life is not everything I want it to be. And perhaps it's not everything that I need it to be. And by need, I mean my life is so unbearable that the suffering that's attendant upon that is make me nihilistic, cynical, bitter, prone to punish people for their virtues because of my jealousy, driving the proclivity to see evil everywhere except within my own heart. Like, these are problems, man. You ask yourself, you sit on the bed and say, okay, man, I'm ready to learn something. Like, what's one thing I'm doing wrong that I know I'm doing wrong that I could fix, that I would fix? It's like, you meditate on that, you'll get an answer. And it won't be one you want, but it'll be the necessary one.
This idea and this notion that you could be anything you want, you can accomplish anything you want, right? We hear that. You've heard that from the time you were little boys. You hear that now. You're already incredibly accomplished. You can win an NBA championship, MVP of the league. You could become president. You could become governor. You could be in entertainment. You could do Charles, and you could do Shaq. You could do that. You could do whatever you want to do. You guys know that. The thing that has worked for me is to remember the hard times.
You don't know where you are, you don't know what to do. Start moving in some direction, and that'll give you some clues or some indication or some immediate feedback about where you are, and you can start assembling a better picture of what's happening. But that reframing the way you're looking at things and seeing opportunities instead of seeing punishments, and instead of seeing downturns in your life, seeing opportunities, it's just going to have such a much better impact on the way where you get to.
One of the most brilliant things that was ever said to me by an extremely skilled psychoanalyst is so simple, and yet I do think it's the most fundamental thing to understanding oneself, is that it's all internal, right? If you finish a marathon in first place, no one comes along and drips dopamine in your ear. You self-generate that. It's all internal. It's all about your internal representation. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't good and bad events in life, but the fact of the matter is that if you set the next milestone as just outside the distance of what you're comfortable with, and you make it there, if you allow yourself a moment to register that win, you get energy to then set the next milestone and achieve it.
You know, if you take people, and I've told you this, and you expose them voluntarily to things that they are avoiding and are afraid of, you know, that they know they need to overcome in order to meet their goals, their self-defined goals. If you can teach people to stand up in the face of the things they're afraid of, they get stronger. And you don't know what the upper limits to that are, because you might ask yourself, like, if for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, by your own definitions, right, within the value structure that you've created, to the degree that you've done that, what would you be like? Well, you know, there are remarkable people who come into the world from time to time, and there are people who do find out over decades-long periods what they could be like if they were who they were, if they spoke their being forward. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and we don't know the limits to that. We do not know the limits to that.
If you understood the power of your thoughts, you'd never think negatively ever again. I also think that once you understand all of the bad things and good things that come into your life are a perfect plan from God himself, you're going to be a lot less affected by the bad things. If something bad happens to you, it's part of God's plan. He knows what he's doing. In the end, you're going to be happy it happened. I often ask people, is there anything bad that's happened to you in the past at the time you were distraught about that you now wish didn't even happen? And truthfully, you're like, no, I'm kind of glad it all happened because of. So if you understand you're always going to get there eventually, why be upset about it now, right? If you know in a year from now you'll be glad it happened, why be upset about it happening now? You have to be cerebral enough about things. And I think if you take these approaches, if you take the approach of manifesting what you want so you're constantly motivated and understanding all the bad things that happen to you are just a lesson and one day you're going to get over it, it's pretty easy to be a happy, contented, balanced person. I don't think there's any serious magic to happiness. I think it's a choice and it's pretty easy to do. I think the unhappiest people in the world don't have any struggle at all. You often find that people who are struggling but know exactly what they're supposed to do, if they're getting up every day and they're grinding and they're working hard and they don't have what they want yet, but they believe they're going to get it and they're trying their very best and they're dedicating themselves, they're very happy. Perhaps to people who were born with a trust fund and unlimited money and have no struggles in their life, and they have no objectives to try and conquer, are truly the miserable ones. Perhaps we're built for struggle. Perhaps the human mind and soul and spirit is built to struggle. Perhaps we're built to suffer. I know me as a man, I'm happiest when I suffer.
Patience, the thing that goes beyond hustle and hard work, the discipline of patience, the thing that goes beyond hustle and hard work. Because we all talk about hustle, we talk about working hard, we talk about grinding, this, that, and the third, but nobody talks to you about patience. Nobody speaks about that patience. Because in the patience, that's where you're gonna make it or you're gonna break. The discipline of patience, it prevents us from insufficient information. The discipline of patience from picking the wrong option. The discipline of patience from going too soon. The discipline of patience from rushing people to the wrong conclusion. Because when you're not patient, you can make a lot of mistakes, man. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap. You judge each day by the seeds that you sow, right? When you sow a seed, you gotta be what? Oh, you gotta be patient.
And here's the thing, man, I don't remember the last time I lost sleep over a hater. I worked too hard for everything I got for me to be out here worried about what a hater's talking about in my comments. Like, are you serious? I'ma laugh at you and ask that chef to run that back.
A lot of people may consider things toxic when they initially start out, but then when you see the end result, or when your career's over with, or when you're with a different organization, you look at it and say, you know what, I really missed that. I give an example of flowers. When you gift roses, or you're gifted roses, or any types of flowers, they cut the thorns off because the thorns, are prickly and so forth. Well, when you cut the thorns off a rose, you decrease its lifespan. So a lot of individuals that have been thorns in your life have actually allowed you to propel to places that you would never be able to propel before. And you don't miss it until that thorn is no longer there.
You're praying for change, and your life just starts falling apart, unraveling at the seams. Everything around you, your relationships, your job, it all goes away. The money in your bank account, it all goes away. And you look up and you go, God, what the fuck? God's like, dude, you asked for change. You asked for a new life. We can't go on in this environment that you're living in. We have to change the environment. We have to obliterate everything that stands and start new. Because the foundation has to be rebuilt of what you're asking for. And if you're able to stay in it, because that's the ultimate yoga right there. That's the yoga of life, is are you able to maintain peace in the midst of that chaos, maintain focus, concentration, trust, and faith. You can either have faith or be in total fear looking into the unknown. Either one. It's on the precipice of the unknown. You have to either have faith and trust that when you let go, God's going to provide you with the next thing. Or you're in total fear and you never go anywhere and you never see what's on the other side of that thing.
You have 10 years left to save your bloodline from eternal slavery, and you lack motivation? You are born to lose, sir. You are a loser. All of your ancestors who fought saber-toothed tigers should have just laid down and died, because they fought their best for you to be born so you could jack off to Pornhub during the last few years where you stand a chance to save your last name from eternal serfdom. The last thing you should lack in the mess of the world today is motivation, because you are running out of time.
The one thing that made me who I am today is being vulnerable. It's breaking myself down to the absolute rock bottom and being able to tell people who I am. And that's how I fixed it. Literally, being able to look somebody in the eye and say, you know what, man, I have a whole bunch of character problems, character flaws. I've lied about this. I've cheated here. I'm insecure here. This isn't the real me. I lied to you about that. I wanted your acceptance in life. All those things happen, but the thing about it is that we get judged so quickly by who we are. We don't know. We don't go to where it happened. You know, life created this person, me. Life created me to be this fucked up person that I was back in the day. And I had to realize, man, that's okay, man. It's not my fault. Now I gotta go back and fix this shit though. So a lot of this isn't your fault, why you do some things you do, why you feel the way you feel. But no one's coming back to save your ass. You have to go back to where the shit started, wherever that place is for everybody, and have the courage to go back there and start fixing what broke you. And that's when I was like, hey, I'm fucked up. I'm gonna go back and fix this though.
There is no one like you. There has never been anyone like you. There shall never be anyone like you. Therefore, know yourself, be yourself. Authenticity is everything.